This slide here is misleading. In fact, it's an outright lie, because the things we're going to talk about in the survival part, they're not really that tough. And they seem tough to people in advance, and before they really thought about them, but I hope you're going to be pleasantly surprised if you don't already know that there's some things that won't be hard for you to make yourself a lot safer and a lot more effective, actually, not just active shooter stuff, but in general. So we'll start with this whole active shooter title, active shooter. I don't like the term, but it's an industry term. Media uses it, kind of stuff with it. It's not fully descriptive. So here's a definition of what we mean when we say active shooter. So go ahead and read through that. And as you do, I'll add a few things. The first thing I'll add is active shooters have a lot in common with one another, as we're going to see in the next few minutes. Okay? They are very mission-oriented. They're very focused on their tasks. Very focused. They all plan, etc. And we're going to walk you through that. The other thing I'll remind you, I think I said it already, this is a suicide. Okay? That's why they're doing this. But it's a suicide with a flare, with attachments to it. Something else. And that something else varies on the person. It could be they wanted, the Columbine monsters. They wanted to one-up the Jonesboro monsters. And in fact, the monster that killed those little kids in Connecticut last year, he was all about body count. He had, in his residence, they found evidence that he was looking, actively thinking of body count. That was his purpose. And a lot of them have that. A lot of them, it's slightly different, but they all have the same thing in common. They're going to go do their plan. They're very focused on it, very missionary. And it's also they can die. As you know, they can happen anywhere. I can put any number of locations. Bottom line, anywhere there's a bunch of us, pieces of blank, like me and you, or targets. Because that's what we are to them. You and me and my dear sweet mother and my kids and everybody. They're targets. And that's how they see it. So for our survival, we need to sort of think that way. We need to take that stress inoculation. A couple of just quick one-offs. I want to mention the gender thing again. It's actually about 2.6. So yes, women have been known to perpetrate some of these atrocities. But statistically, it's background. Okay, it's men doing it. And that's why I say he and will continue to say he. It's men. Okay, some of the behaviors that we talked about earlier, those were kind of in the abstract. We were saying, here's some behaviors of concern. Now, when we put stuff up here like this, and in a few subsequent slides, you'll see some more. These are right out of evidence files, right out of post-mortem investigations. So the FBI, the authorities, when they go in after one of these mass killings, they know which questions to ask. And they're going and they're talking to family and neighbors and coworkers, and they're saying, was this present? What about this? What about this? And oh, yeah, that and that and that one. And there's always a Christmas tree, right? I said I didn't like the term because it's not fully descriptive. It's not always a gun. In fact, a third of the time in that 4-year period, it wasn't a gun. Long before guns came to planet Earth, human beings were slaughtering one another with great creativity and great efficiency. And long after the last gun's gone, they'll be doing the same. This is a people problem. Guns can make it worse, for sure. It's a people problem. And if we look at it as a people problem, we have a way better chance of fixing it. A mass killing, by the way, is 4 or more dead per year, not counting lost. So the LA airport shooting, not a mass killing. Didn't rise to that level. About that. If it seems like they're getting worse, it's because they are. I think of them like sunspot activity at this point, to be honest with you. They were bad in the 80s. They got worse in the 90s. From 2000 to 2008, they got a lot better. The incidence went way down. And then they started picking up again in 2009. And in 12, by the way, 12 was a banner year. I think there were 23 or 24 mass killings in 12. I don't like to talk about 13. I'm worried, statistically, I don't think we're done yet. It's been a bad year, too.
Are you just talking about the U.S.?
Right now I am, but it's funny you mentioned that. We'll see them happening in other places. I like to mention this one. It happened a couple of months ago because it was horrible. It was in China, and it was a mass killing of 22 people with a knife. You know, so. But yes, these statistics are primarily Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. So they're coming out of the database of crimes in the United States. So here we go. Some more of these. Recognize some of these? We talked about them earlier, and now here they are. So you're saying, is Kurt saying that somebody who repeatedly violates company policies is going to be a mass killer? No. What I'm saying is that when they go in after one of these incidents, they come to find out that several of these things were present. Right? So not everybody that violates company policy will be a killer, but people who are killers often violate company policy. All right? Here's some more. The last three are worthy of mention right now, because we kind of talked about them earlier. Okay, they're very interested in, and by the way, we are now strictly talking about active shooters, not just someone who might just be hurting themselves. We're talking about the monster now, or the pre-monster, actually. They're really interested in these events. And they're living vicariously through, drawing strength, they're learning, and they're just obsessed with it. And it's a fact. It happens almost all over. We will go now through a case study of a shooting that happened in St. Louis a couple years ago. The purpose for this is to show you that these things, it's almost like a template. Every news story you read, every post-mortem, what happened here you read about these things, you will find many things in common. And that's important. It's important for prevention's sake, and it's important for our survival part too, which you'll see as we go through. So we'll start with this one, and I will start with a media, a note on the media, a caveat. It may sound editorial to you, but it's not. It's true. When one of these events happen, if you haven't noticed, the first 4, 5, 6 hours, everything you hear is going to be wrong. They're going to have all the details wrong. They're going to say 2 rodeo clowns with laser beams are killing people. And the reason for that is this dog-eat-dog world, and I say dog because to me the media has become like a pack of ravenous dogs. They're throwing information out irresponsibly, without concern for the families that might be at that facility, and they're no longer practicing journalistic integrity, and they're just saying what they want to say. So by telling people, just take everything with a grain of salt. 4, 5, 6 hours, the truth will come out, right? But up front, we got to put up with a whole lot of bad information. All right, this was St. Louis. May or may not remember it. It was a manufacturing type plant. It's memorable in a lot of ways. It's a bad thing made worse by the weather. It was, I think, the coldest winter they've had there in almost a century in St. Louis. They get some cold winter, right? Big place. Now, this media story here was filed about 6, 7 hours in, and they had most of it right. So let's start with this opening paragraph. They already knew it was an employee. A lot of times they'll say a man, but they already knew it. And they say he was armed with a rifle and a handgun, and they got that wrong. He was armed with a rifle and a shotgun and 3 handguns. And by the way, that's one of those boilerplate template things. They often have multiple weapons. I mentioned they were mission oriented. They planned. Okay, next up. This is really important for us. And the last part of our talk is about law enforcement response. So, several hours later, and by several, they mean about 6, the police were still finishing up clearing this place. It was a gigantic place. 900,000 square foot footprint of this plant. Multiple buildings on the compound. This is a huge building. Okay? If something happens in this hallway and there's an active shooter, we're going to be in here for a while if we barricade. Because it's going to take a long time. Because the police are going to methodically clear. They're not going to assume anything. Now, in this case here, the monster was dead 7 minutes after the first shot. And that's very much in line with the statistics. It's around 5 to 12 minutes. Now, the problem becomes the people who ran from him and hid did not know that. So they're out there hiding in the coldest winter in a century. So now we have people sitting outside hiding for 6 hours, getting frostbite. So bad is made worse. The police do not know he's dead, nor will they assume it. Nor will they assume that he's alone, even if they do know he's dead. So they have got to continue this. And that's important for every one of us to know and understand, because it will play into it should you ever find yourself in this. Here's the part where the media loves to start putting his name out, which is exactly what he wants. Here's the other thing about aftershooters. They are after some measure of immortality, fame, notoriety. They want it, they crave it. They read about previous ones, and they're like, wow, that's awesome, look what he did, I can do that. It makes them feel good. I won't use their name. A lot of people that talk about this won't use their name. To me, they're monsters. But anyway, let's see if he truly snapped, right? People don't snap. We already know that. Shooting occurred as the lawsuit was unfolding in court, and the lawsuit was filed by him and some other employees almost 4 years ago. So it started brewing a while back. Keep that in mind, right? Shooting started around 6:30. I said he was mission oriented, right? He said that they planned. Why shift change? Anybody? Why shift change? More targets, more chaos, more confusion. He's an employee there. He knows what goes on. He gets to pick the time. Isn't that's the truth of this awfulness? The monster gets to pick when his dance starts. We don't get to pick. And they will pick what they feel is optimum. And to him, who chose shift change, that's not uncommon. All right, this is my least favorite part, and it's the part that makes me the most crazy. As the shots began to ring out, the employees, they did something. They scurried. So I just want to ask you folks, you're probably going to, for a minute, think I'm really weird, but I really have a problem with that word. Scurrying is basically